Okay, happy Monday to everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Today we are talking about goals. We all have them. Sometimes we struggle with them. Actually, quite a few people struggle with them. And most of the time when we struggle with goals, it's not because we lack the ability, it's not because we lack motivation or discipline or self-control or anything like that. Most of the time, the reason that we struggle and fail with regard to our goals is because we don't have a process, we don't have a plan in place, we don't have a system in place. I'm just checking right now to make sure everything's a go on the live. Okay. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is just a really simple 3-step process that you can take to help optimize the likelihood of success. So there was a study that I came across a couple years ago that laid out this simple 3-step process. And when people followed these simple 3 steps, they had a success rate of about 76% when it came to accomplishing their goals. That's pretty good. I mean, 76% is a pretty good success rate. So this is a process that has some research behind it. Now, I will say this about goals. There's no one magic system, and we all kind of need to find our own process that really speaks to us and that really works with us and works for us. But this particular one at least has some research backing it, and it's very simple. So I'm going to walk you through it. So this process begins with step number 1, which is this: write it down. So step number 1 with your 3-step goal setting process is very simple. Write your goal down. When it comes to goals, the studies show that people who write their goals down have a significant statistical advantage over people who don't. If you're just letting your goals kind of rattle around in your head, the likelihood of success with regard to you achieving those goals is significantly lessened than if you simply commit them to paper. So you need to commit your goals in writing to paper and make sure that they are specific. You want your goals to be specific. So if you have a goal of, hey, I want to make more money this year, if you just write down, I want to make more money this year, then if you make $1 more this year than last year, it's a success. If that's all you're aiming for, then congratulations. But if you're going for something a little bit more significant, you need to make sure that when you're writing down your goals, you are specific about what it is that you want to achieve. So if you want to make $5,000 more this year, make sure you're specific about how much money you want to make. Make sure that you write down, I want to make $5,000 more this year. I want to make $10,000 more this year. But step number 1, very simply, is write down your goals. Do not accept do not allow yourself to simply go through life wanting things and letting those things rattle around in your head without committing them to paper. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is have an actual action plan that is associated with this goal, and you need to write it out. So, you hear a lot about people writing down their goals and sticking them to the bathroom mirror or sticking them somewhere on the refrigerator or something. With all due respect to the law of attraction, having an actual process is going to be much more effective than simply looking at and reading your goal over and over every single day. So step number 2 is making sure that you have an action plan that is detailed and specific and written out that relates to your written goal. So again, using I want to make $10,000 more this year as your written goal, your action plan would need to be a series of actual daily and weekly action steps that you are going to take in pursuit of that goal. And then that action plan is what you should be sticking to the mirror in the bathroom. The action plan is what you should be sticking on the fridge, because the engine of your goal is going to be the action plan. The steps you take are what have power. The goal itself doesn't have any substance. The goal itself is just an idea. It's something that you are It's something on the horizon that you're orienting your ship toward. And it gives you the destination in the future for which you need to create an action plan. So step number 2 is make sure that you have a specific action plan in place for your written goal. Step number 3 is have somebody that you can check in with on a weekly basis. That can be a friend, it can be a coach, it can be a trainer, it can be a mentor, it can be a therapist, it can be a support group, it can be a therapist, it can be anybody, it can be a family member. But I think that there are a couple things that are important here. The first thing is that the study that I'm referencing for these 3 steps stipulates that you need to have a weekly check-in. So make sure that the person that you're checking in with is somebody that you can check in with on a weekly basis. I also contend that this person needs to be more than just a cardboard cutout. This needs to be somebody who's going to be proactive. Somebody who's not just going to sit there and listen and then just rubber stamp everything that you said that you did in the last week. So if you are checking in with this person and you say, yeah, I didn't really get anything done this week. They're not just going to go, okay, no problem, life's rough, I love you anyway. Listen, there's nothing wrong with offering support, but somebody who is more proactive is going to start to ask you some questions around why it was that you didn't get anything done. They're going to provide some examination around it. They're going to provide some inspection around it. So they're going to be proactive in actually helping you reach your goals. They're going to ask you questions about what was it that got in your way to getting things done? What could you do differently this week that would produce a greater result? How can I support you? Things like that. So, and they don't have to be a professional and they don't have to know all the right questions. They just have to be willing to ask questions. So that's the 3rd step, which is make sure that you have somebody that you can check in with on a weekly basis. So if you're having a busy day and you just want to know what the 3 steps are, those are the 3 steps. You can actually bail out now if you want to. I'm going to add a little bit more detail, but to reiterate, research shows that 3 steps are, if you take 3 specific steps when you are in the pursuit of a goal, and these 3 specific steps in particular, you are going to increase the likelihood of your success by 76%. And those 3 steps are, number 1, write them down. You need to commit them to paper. Number 2, have a specific written action plan that is associated with that goal. And step number 3 is make sure that you have a weekly check-in with somebody that you trust and somebody who is going to provide some insight and some examination into how you're going about pursuing your goals. So that, very simply, is the 3-step process. So if you're busy and you want to check out now, those are the 3 steps. Now, I'm going to offer a 4th unwritten step, and that is that you need to execute. You have to actually take action on this process. So I've led goals workshops a number of times using this particular 3-step formula as well as some other things. And I got to tell you, there's a high percentage of people who don't do anything. They don't do anything after the workshop is done. And I think that that's kind of common with many things, many classes, many courses, many workshops. We go to these courses and these workshops and we get this great information and then we don't do anything with it. So step 4, the unwritten step number 4 here is you've got to execute. You've got to pull the trigger. You have to actually go through the process. So you need to actually write down your goals and write down that action plan and make sure you line up somebody to be your weekly accountability partner. You've got to actually take action. That's step number 4. I think most of the time with a lot of things, it's not so much a matter of us not knowing what to do. It's a matter of us actually doing it. So it's important to understand that there are a lot of very real environmental factors that impede our ability to actually get the things done in our lives that we want to get done. But in the end, it also just gets down to having the willingness to put pen to paper and actually do the work necessary to get it done. So make sure that execution is a part of your program. When we're done, spend 10 minutes. When you check out here, spend 10 minutes writing down a single goal. And that would be another thing that I would actually recommend, is just focus on one goal at a time. There's some statistic about the percentage of people who fail in pursuit of their New Year's resolutions, and it's huge. It's something like 80% of the people fail by February. It's not because people lack character. It's not because they lack willpower or discipline or self-control or motivation either. I think most of the time people are failing because, number one, they don't have a process in place. They don't have a system in place. And number two, they're trying to revolutionize their entire life all at once. It's too much. It's overwhelming. Pick one thing. Pick one goal and focus on that goal. Don't wake up on January 1st hungover and full of self-loathing and decide all of a sudden, I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to start eating right. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to start, volunteering at the shelter. Don't do that. That's overwhelming. It's too much. Take one thing. Choose one thing. Focus on that one thing. Master it, achieve it, and then move on to the next thing. Another couple tips that I will recommend is keep these goals small. You are much more likely to maintain a continual level of motivation when you are constantly succeeding by hitting small goals. When you're constantly winning, even if those goals are small, even if those wins are small, the concept of self-efficacy is very, very motivating. So if you are continually able to succeed in the pursuit of small goals, that's going to be highly motivating, as opposed to perpetually being in pursuit of a large goal that you haven't achieved yet. So pick one goal, make it a small goal, write a process for it, achieve it, and then start over and just repeat that process. I am not a huge fan of big, hairy, audacious goals, with all due respect to Jim Collins, who is brilliant. Jim Collins is great, and Good to Great is a fantastic book, and he's written some other great books too. I'm just not a big fan of big, hairy, audacious goals because I think that they are sometimes too big for us to really wrap our heads around and really game plan effectively for. And because they're so large, the culmination of that goal is so far in the future that we don't have any sort of connection with it now. Make small goals, and if you can win on those small goals, if you can achieve those small goals on a regular basis, small incremental goals, that's going to promote motivation and self-efficacy. That's it. I'm going to check out now and leave you. I'm just going to recap really quickly. The 3 steps to goal setting are: number 1, make sure that you write it down. Number 2, make sure you have a written action plan. Number 3, make sure you have somebody that you trust to check in with about these goals on a regular basis. And then the 4th unwritten goal is execute, actually do it. And that's it. If you want to kind of investigate and research more on your own about goals, I would recommend actually looking into the concept of self-determination theory and also self-efficacy, which are theories of human motivation. And they can explain a lot as to why it is that we struggle with some of the goals in our lives. So if you are a bookworm, or if you're staying home and you got some extra time on your hands, you can look into self-determination theory and self-efficacy. That's it for now, guys. I hope you may have gotten a little bit of value out of this. Take from it what is beneficial to you. Leave behind what is not. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comments section below. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got some great content coming up for you this week on Facebook, and everything is going to be on our YouTube channel after it is shot live on Facebook. That's it for now. Have a great day. Let me know if you have any comments, thoughts, or suggestions, and we'll talk again soon.